Jimson.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that it should work now. I think people will be able to hear me. I think, yeah, I think I had it myself turned off actually, so I think that was the problem. So think so. I think that it should work now. Yeah, there we go. I can hear my own voice now. Okay, cool. Sorry about that, everyone. I had my own mic turned off, so I gave an intro and nobody could hear me. I want to welcome you all back to the channel. My name is Adrian Lloyd, and this is Just My Stupid Opinion. And I am joined once again by Bold Like a Leopard, who has been we have worked on several different things here together. And I am also joined once again by Mythical Arjuna. And Mythical Arjuna, you may recognize, we've done many bits together concerning India. And I want to welcome you, both of you, back to the channel. How you all doing today?
I'm doing pretty well.
We're all good. Dude, your audio is still choppy.
Yeah, you still have choppy audio. It's the same way.
Still got choppy audio? You mean on the actual stream itself?
Yep.
Yeah, it's because my... Or you mean in the Hangout, or do you mean on the actual stream itself?
In the Hangout.
Oh, I don't know why that is. Am I chopping right now?
You were just now before.
Okay, may just be the fact that I was having, maybe it's just because my computer's trying to process too much right now. It's giving me a hard time. Let me know if it happens again, though, okay? In the meantime, the first story on the agenda today, we're going to be talking about Jim Jordan. And what's going on with Jim Jordan is he is a Republican who is being accused of... He's being accused of turning a blind eye to a bunch of sexual assaults that ended up happening while he was a wrestling coach at Ohio State. And as far as I can tell, there's been some controversy, as some people believe that the whole story has been faked in order to destroy his reputation. I know that President Donald Trump has come out against him and has stated that. Has come out against him and ended up stating that he believes Jim Jordan's side of the story. And I pulled up an article here just from Fox News that is talking about the thing. Talking about this story, it says, a former Ohio State University wrestler told Fox News Thursday that he sent a series of emails to Representative Jim Jordan about alleged sexual abuse by a team doctor in an effort to help him realize that he needs to step forward and lead and cut through the BS in Ohio State. Michael DiSabato has accused the Ohio Republican, a two-time NCAA wrestling champion at the University of Wisconsin and a former Ohio State assistant coach, of turning a blind eye to allegations against Richard Strauss, who died in 2005. Earlier this week, Jordan's office denied knowing about any allegations against Strauss. Jordan did not respond to requests for comment on this story. Congressman Jordan never saw any abuse, never heard about any abuse, and never had any abuse reported to him during his time as coach of Ohio State. Spokesperson Ian Fury told Fox News. Coach of turning blind eye to allegations again. Oh, I just heard my voice there for a second. But
that was Arjun.
All good.
Yeah, but I put the post on. Sorry. Yeah, but your audio is still so choppy. I just wanted to check the stream, whether it's choppy on the stream or not. Because it's still coming like it's breaking up a lot.
It's probably on the Hangout, I think, that I'm having the choppiness.
And because I can hear this guy clearly, Ramon. But your voice is coming, it's breaking up a lot. It's like half of what you were saying, I couldn't hear. You were saying Jim Jordan, and then sexual assault, then some doctor, and then, like, again, jump.
Yeah, so Jim Jordan was a coach for wrestling, and pretty much what ended up happening was that he was accused of turning a blind eye to a lot of sexual abuses that happened to his wrestlers while he was a coach for the team. And so this is to now come out against him. And because of it, some people are accusing that it's some people are saying that the timing of everything that's ended up happening may be that it's actually it's a form of character assassination against the man. Which it is possible, because we've heard a lot of this going on. And as far as I can tell on this story, Jim Jordan, in defense of himself, has stated that there has been very little actual evidence brought forward, that these are all allegations, and that they're not actually providing the evidence to say that he was they're providing the evidence of saying that he actually committed these crimes. On top of it, they're also stating that there could be, at least according to a Vox article, people were saying that it could be as high as 1,000 students who have suffered abuse while he turned a blind eye. However, that's a pretty
high as how much?
1,000 students.
At the hands of this guy? At the hands of the doctor?
at the hands of the doctor, while Jim Jordan did nothing about it.
Wow, 1,000 students. That's wow.
Now,
Like Weinstein should take inspiration from that guy.
well, the thing is about this too is we need what I'm going to take into with a grain of salt is it was a Vox article that was stating that, and really I think that where that number came from, it had more to do with the fact that there were probably about 1,000 students that he coached in that entire time, and then they were trying to attribute that every single one of those could have faced abuse while Jim Jordan was the coach there. So I don't think that's a realistic number when they say 1,000 students, but still, as far as I can tell, there. Go ahead.
He was an assistant coach, so it's like what I see out of this is, first of all, the offending doctor he's been dead for 13 years, and a lot of these people are placing the blame on Jim Jordan. If it was so widespread at Ohio State, they're not calling for the resignations of a lot of the other Ohio State people that have been associated with the college, since then. Like it's really, the most similar case I can remember was Joe Paterno. If any of you guys know who that is, Arjun, I doubt you know about him because he's not very famous outside of the U.S.
I don't think I've actually heard of this guy either. Could you maybe give us a little bit of background information?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm still getting Arjun. Can you still hear him clearly? Because he's like cutting in and out.
Yeah, he's cutting in and out a little bit.
Let me see what I can do about that. But can you give us some background information, Bold? In the meantime, I'll try and fix my audio.
He's asking for background info.
So Joe Paterno was for, I think, over 50 years, he was the head coach of the Penn State football team. And he had an assistant coach named Jerry Sandusky, and it was a huge story all over the country. Sandusky had been raping children in the Penn State facilities. They were all like, he was like a huge pedophile, and Penn State had basically covered it up and never discussed it. So the allegation was that Paterno had known about it, and he did know that these charges had occurred. And instead of notifying the police, he went to his superiors at the college, like the university president and the chancellor or whatever it was, the athletic director, and they decided to sweep it under the rug. So for many years, they basically did nothing about this doctor, not the doctor, the assistant coach, Jerry Sandusky. And then eventually, it basically destroyed the Penn State brand for 4 or 5 years. Even though I think what they should have done was to basically discontinue the program for 2 years and up. For instance, already dead 13 years. And people are trying to make it appear as if it was Jim Jordan's prerogative to act as the assistant wrestling coach at the time. Well, I understand that he had some responsibility, but you're talking about a much more systematic issue. Yeah, and in fact, what is he supposed these people are coming forward to the Washington Post, and what this tells me is it's the same thing that happened in I would say in December, if you guys remember Roy Moore. Roy Moore was basically smeared by the Washington Post over charges that he spoke improperly to some women in the 70s, like when he was basically a young attorney. He was like in his 30s, and he was talking with underage girls in Alabama back then, but he never actually had sex with them. But then they blew it. They extrapolated from that, and they said, well, he must be some sort of creep or pedophile. and I wouldn't have I would not have voted for Roy Moore. I thought that the guy was out of his fucking mind. I was like probably one of the most like backward like caveman judges ever, and he'd been impeached from the Supreme Court of Alabama 2 times. But with Jim Jordan, I think that in this case, it's definitely a hatchet job. It's character assassination because he is not the offender. And if you remember last year, these same people, the same press was basically they had to be dragged, kick screaming, to call for Al Franken's resignation when Franken actually did the sexual harassment. Like he actually forced the woman who complained against him to get into a makeout scene with him, and then he groped her on a plane, and there was photo evidence of it. There's no photo evidence in this case. Another thing that I saw from the Daily Caller, and I'll try to pull it up, was that basically, like, Jim Jordan is accused by a number of people that already have some, like, real credibility issues against them. So I think now there's 7 quote unquote accusers, but like one of them was like he was convicted of fraud a few years back. So I don't see why exactly we're supposed to be so pissed off about Jim Jordan being an assistant wrestling coach, which, to be honest with you, is not a very senior position at any university, over these allegations, when this is an issue that was already what are you supposed to do? The guy committed suicide in 2005, and there were many people at Ohio State that were knowledgeable about this according to the allegations.
All right. Well, first of all, I tried adjusting things around, so let me know if I'm still cutting out or not. Hopefully that things will be going over well now. But yeah, this is the thing that I was having just some problems when I was listening to this. I mean, I'm not going to come to this guy's defense, and I'm also not going to condemn him right away. But I was having some issues just because it didn't really seem like there was too much evidence that was supporting necessarily that he actually did commit this. It was more just somebody coming out stating they were placing blame on him. And as we already see it right now, there's too many people that are already losing their careers. There's too many people that are already are the victims of a witch hunt simply because in this age of hashtag Me Too. And it's good. You want to have the people who are victims to have their day and have their say, but the problem with the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too right now, is the fact that people are using any little excuse right now to justify it, and they are using it as character assassination. So this is sort of the problem I'm finding with this situation right here, is just as I kind of read through this Fox.
Yeah, that would be.
Go ahead.
Yeah. That would be the case, right? That would be the case, right? See, any movement has its downsides too, right? Some guys would misuse it. Like there is no doubt that there are good sides to a movement like that in terms of like bringing out the stories of real victims. But in actuality, there would be some people who would misuse it, right?
Well, and the thing is too,
so it's like a pros and cons thing.
The thing is too is that when it comes to this guy, he's only being accused of turning a blind eye to it. He's not being accused as the accuser. They're not saying that it was him who committed these acts. It is very possible that he did not know what was going on at the time of this whole situation. If nobody stepped up beforehand, then I don't see how he could have known that this was going on behind the scenes. And that's another thing, is I haven't heard anybody say that they came forward to him at the time and he didn't do anything about it. That would be a much bigger accusation to make, but so far there's been nothing. And Bold right now is pulling up an article from the Daily Caller, which says Jim Jordan's accusers have a sketchy history, raising questions about their authenticity. What sort of sketchy history are we talking about here?
Okay, so one accuser, Mike DeSabato, is also accused of bullying the widow of a Marine over a memorial fund set her husband's name. And then he's also facing a defamation lawsuit. So another at the time when the other user was accused of basically served prison for fraud for $1.8 million. So here we go. Like yeah, he served 18 months in prison. One of the former wrestlers. So that's a class B felony, I think, in Ohio. One of the former wrestlers, Mike DiSabato, is also being accused by the widow of a Marine who was killed in combat in Iraq of intimidating and bullying her over a memorial fund set up in her husband's name. I question the intent, the authenticity, the veracity that Mike DiSabato bears in any of his words or actions. Karen Mendoza, the wife of Ray Mendoza, a former teammate of DiSabato's who was killed in 2005, said in a statement. And then NBC News published an article on Tuesday quoting DiSabato and Denisha Yates, another former OSU wrestler, claiming that when Jordan worked as an assistant coach at OSU, he ignored sexual abuse carried out by a university physician named Richard Strauss. Jordan, a time NCAA wrestling champion, denied in April that he knew about Strauss's alleged activities, but Yates told NBC News that a liar or taking part in the abuse. DiSabato called Jordan a coward. Now the fact is, they can't prove anything now because he's dead. The guy killed himself in 2005. So Jordan, a leading House conservative, has vehemently denied the allegations, saying that he was never told of sexual abuse against athletes during his at OSU, which stretched from 1986 to 1994. He said he would have taken action had he known about any abuse by Strauss, who killed himself in 2005. Jordan is also questioning the timing of this. So if this happened I mean, again, like I was saying even in the fall, when there's the whole issue with Roy Moore as well as Tavis Smiley, who is good, I think PBS. So he might be like the only good news show on PBS. Basically, people would come forward and accuse them of things that can't be proven anymore because it's taken decades to talk about it. Whereas, and when the same thing was applied to Bill Clinton, people say, well, it's been so many years, why don't we let it rest? And in fact, that's what happened in, I believe it was just in May. There were all these questions about why Clinton was still touring the country trying to sell his stupid books with James Patterson. And then once somebody challenged him just a little, Monica Lewinsky, he got his panties all in a bunch about it. But now they're coming forward with Jim Jordan, who didn't even commit this act if it did happen, because this guy killed himself. So what are you supposed to do?
There's really not much.
And then one of the other, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna fill in if you were done, but yeah, you can go ahead if you have more. I was just gonna say that there's really not much. Go ahead. I'll shut up.
All I'm saying is that there's very little that can be proven now. And here's another thing. Jordan is disputing another allegation made in the NBC News article, this one regarding a claim made by a lawyer for OSU about attempts to contact a Republican to discuss the Strauss allegations. Kathleen Trafford of the firm Porter, Wright, Morris, and Arthur said that attorneys with Perkins Coie, the law firm investigating the Strauss allegations on behalf of OSU, had previously contacted Representative Jordan's office by email and phone to request that he participate in an interview. To date, Representative Jordan has not responded to those requests, Trafford told NBC News. The investigative team is continuing its efforts to schedule an interview with Representative Jordan, but emails obtained by the Daily Call News Foundation show that the inquiries from Perkins Coie partner Marcus Funk were sent to the inactive email address jim.jordan@mail.house.gov. So it might be that the House changed its email system since then. So then he can't be held accountable for that. Funk sent emails on May 14th and May 24th attempting to speak with Jordan. Trafford did not respond to the DCNF's email seeking comment. So they're not responding to, so they're complaining about him not responding to emails to his defunct account, but they're not answering either. And by the way, Perkins Coie is the law firm that was responsible for laundering the Steele dossier in the Russia investigation.
How convenient. They make quite an epic comeback, don't they?
Right, and it's like really, like I know that as a assistant coach or teacher or any other faculty member at a college or university, I think that you do have to sign up. In most of these cases, you have to sign a statement like that you have a duty to report. But I don't know if back in the 90s that was actually the policy, because it's kind of changed with the years. Not that it makes it better if he didn't report it, but we're talking about things that are provable again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I was going to say there earlier was that it's really, with the guy being dead, there's really not much that we can do anymore in order to prove this. I mean, what really more can be done? And again, I think at this point, what may be happening is that a lot of these students are just, I think they're looking for anyone who has actually suffered from this abuse. I think they're just looking for somebody now to take the fall for it, and it may just be this Jim Jordan guy. It's not so much that he was guilty of anything, but it was probably just because now they're just looking for anybody that could pay the price for the abuse they suffered. And I feel awful for these guys, but I seriously think they're just going after the wrong person for everything that's happened, It's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right, and another thing is, like, if they were being abused and these were, and the real problem is that these are not things that can be proven after 20, well, what would it be now? Like, if this happened between 1986 and 1994, these charges are at least 24 years old. So they didn't police back then. You could have reported it to the police, by the way, and or the campus police. It's not like you can't report crimes to the police. You have to do it through the wrestling coach. And if this was a doctor that I have a hard time believing that this was a doctor that was strictly assigned to the wrestling team, because expenditure. So why are they not going after, for example, like John Cooper, who was the head football coach back, any of the other coaches?
That's a good question. Yeah, why aren't they going after any of these? Because as the assistant coach, he would only have so much authority over that, but it's always the head coach. It really is the head coach where most of the health really lies with them. I mean, I guess the team doctor, but considering it's the team doctor who was doing this, you can't really say much on that. But yeah, the fact that they're going after the assistant coach is a little bit suspicious to me. I don't know whether it's because they feel maybe he's just a more public figure or something, or I really don't know why they would be going down this road. And if anybody has it, yep. All good?
Yeah, I think did he cut off again, Arjun? Did you hear him?
Yeah, I can have, like, he's there, I think.
Yeah, I'm here.
Is there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I was just going to say, if anybody else
Hello?
has anything else to say on the matter, we can move on to our next topic.
Right. I did want to say that there's another coach who was much more high profile at Michigan State who knew about an even more serious issue, the Larry Nassar rape issue in Michigan State. And during the 2017-18 season, Tom Izzo received criticism for his handling of sexual assault cases approximately 10 years prior. The report stated that Izzo had failed to report the assaults or take actions against the players involved. Izzo has and always cooperate fully with all investigations. So this was like the head basketball coach of a top-tier basketball program, which is much bigger. And obviously basketball is bigger than wrestling in college here in the U.S. Like, college basketball is huge, especially Michigan State. and yet he never resigned. And now so this is a person who would have had duty to report, and he was at the time he was an elite head coach, and he still is an elite head coach. Yet now they're going after Jim Jordan, who was an assistant head coach. He was an assistant coach at a wrestling program at Ohio State. It was even longer ago, and the accused person is dead. So I think this really is a witch hunt, given all the parties that are involved.
Well, it really wouldn't be the first witch hunt when we're talking about the Me Too movement, so I'm really not surprised. Arjun, do you have anything to add before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All good? Alrighty. So, just give me 1 second. I'm just waiting for the article to pop back up. But, here we go. So this article is from The Verge, and it says Twitter reportedly suspended 70 million accounts in the past 2 months in crackdown. And as it goes on to say, Twitter suspended 70 million accounts in the past 2 months as part of a crackdown on malicious activity on its platform, according to a report in the Washington Post. What's that?
We're having trouble hearing you again, man.
I think I know what it is. I know why. It's because Mad Dodge might be joining us later, so I had to start up my Discord in order to send him a message, so I think it's making me cut in and out again. Can you hear me now?
Try it again.
All right. I'm going to restart from the beginning, okay? We'll see if it works.
Okay.
All right. Twitter suspended 70 million accounts in the past 2 months as part of a crackdown on malicious activity on its platform. The rate of suspension for May and June is reportedly twice the company's October 2017 suspension rate. So far, so good?
No, it's pretty bad now.
It is, eh?
Yeah.
Shit. All right, give me 1 second. Like, really, you can't hear me at all, eh? It's still correct, like, can't make out what I'm saying?
For some reason, now we can.
Lossy. Yeah, it becomes very lossy. Like you start talking, then entire chunks of your like sentences
Alrighty, hold on. I'm just going to try adjust a couple things. Just give me 1 second, everybody. Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
Yep.
All right, how am I starting to sound now? Can you make out what I'm saying? Is it consistent, clear?
It's a little slow.
A little slow, eh?
And it's you just have some choppiness right there.
Yeah.
Damn, man. I think it's my crappy ass laptop. I think it might just be having too much difficulty trying to do both at the same time. But pretty much, if you can make out what I'm saying, it's that there have been 70 million Twitter accounts that have been suspended in the last 2 months. And it's a much higher rate. It's twice, it's a much higher rate than their October 2017 suspension that they went through.
17, or is it 70 million? 70 or 17?
70 million.
70.
70 million Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
Like, see, that's a little hypocritical on Twitter's part. You know why? Because in India, like last year, when the government asked Twitter to suspend 115 accounts for spewing anti-national rhetoric in Kashmir in favor of separatism and nation, those confidential communications by the government were leaked by Twitter, and Twitter refused to suspend those accounts. The government had to threaten Twitter by telling them that if you don't, we will suspend your India operations. That's which is like a little hypocritical, at least from my perspective.
I would agree with you on that. It is hypocritical because, I mean, they're they're the ones who pretty much made themselves into a social media platform. Anybody should be allowed to go on it. But then now they're also deciding who has. I mean, it is a private company, so I guess they have the right to decide who can be on their platform and who can't. But when you sort of present yourself as opening up everything to the people, and then now you're just going to turn your back on that, and instead you're going to shut down all these accounts that don't agree with it. And they're saying that it's in an effort to stop both trolls and spam, which to me just seems like an excuse, especially because back in October we saw how a number of active accounts were still being used by the owners, yet Twitter just still decided to shut them down regardless. Not to mention about the sort of conduct that we know that's going on behind the scenes that was reported by Project Veritas. I mean, we know that they read your DMs. We know that they archive everything you say. So I agree. It's completely hypocritical. And a troll, like, we've gone through this before on this channel. Huh?
You think we might have to start on a Hangouts call?
Yeah.
Sorry, you both were talking at the same time. I couldn't make out what you said.
I'll put it in the chat. Second.
But anyway, yeah, Twitter's just not a company worth trusting at all to begin with. And now they're also trying to tell us we might have to start a new Hangout.
Yeah, I mean, that might be it. I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
You could duck out, and then me and Arjun will keep the ball rolling about it. Whichever one's better for you.
Tell you what, if you don't mind doing the Hangout, that may work a little bit better. Maybe my internet's having too much trouble running both at the same time. So would you mind starting up the Hangout and then calling me back?
Yeah. You want me to call you back?
Yeah. If you don't mind setting up the Hangout.
Okay.
All right. Cool. We'll do that instead.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Sorry about that. It just seems that I'm talking to everybody through the Google Hangouts at the same time, and it seems that they were having a lot of trouble hearing me, that I was being very choppy and everything. I know that it's been running well on the stream itself, and I think it was trying to run both. I think it's just trying to run both at the same time was just a little too difficult. So we're going to retry this now. They're going to give me a call back in just a minute, and then we're going to try and see if we can get this to work a little bit better. It's not you guys that are watching this that will be having the problem of hearing me. It's going to be them. So yeah, just give it 1 minute, and they should be calling me any second now. But anyway, in the meantime, pretty much just Twitter is just kind of a shit platform right now, in my opinion. Like, I still enjoy going through it and everything and being on it. It's a good place to get information, but in the meantime, it's just the sort of draconian laws and draconian rules that they have around there, and the sort of things that they do behind the scene doesn't make it a really good platform, in my opinion. I mean, I guess it's not much different than Facebook. In fact, in some ways, Facebook is worse. So, because at least when it comes to Twitter, they may be archiving everything you say, but it's not like Facebook where they're selling off your information. But yeah, so far it's just been that, and the thing is too, is when we're talking about this idea of trolls too, a troll is just a person who's trying to have a good time. That's all a troll is. So the fact that they're trying to say that they are trying to stop trolls from spreading on the platform is just stupid. I mean, anybody can be a troll. There's people who probably have a Twitter account for their regular accounts. Then there's people who have a Twitter account just to go around and screw with everybody. It's literally the same person, but they'll allow one account on and they'll take off the other account and it's the same friggin' person. All right, I don't know why. Still waiting for that phone call. Not fun. Once again, I'd like to apologize for all the technical difficulties we're having right now. It's my own fault. I don't think I set it up properly when I probably didn't set it up properly, or I didn't take the proper precautions. I maybe should have had one of them do the phone call already again. Instead of me, I tried to have everything set up, ready to go when they got here on the accounts, but it didn't really work out quite that well. We'll get back to you, the main show in just a second, okay, everyone? Cool.
Let me see. I'll try a different way.
Yo.
Are you back? Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just didn't sign into my email account soon enough, so I was calling my phone instead.
Dude, I'm watching this video of this guy making a burrito fries that looks so delicious, but like it has shrimp and all this crap in it that I can't eat. So I'm like mad hungry.
Alright, we're going live again.
Are we still live?
We are now live again. There we go. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. I don't know what the problem was, but I think the problem really was probably that my internet was just trying to stream, but then also having the Hangout open, it was cutting from one to the other, and I think OBS was the dominant platform. So I think that was really the problem. Am I sounding better now?
A little better, yeah.
Yeah, a little better.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can continue this and we won't have to cut it down early because of everything. I'm going to try rereading the article so we can get an idea of what's going on, okay? So the article is from The Verge, and it's called Twitter Reportedly Suspended 70 Million Accounts in the Past 2 Months in Crackdown. Twitter suspended 70 million accounts in the past 2 months as part of a crackdown on malicious activity on its platform. According to a report in the Washington Post, the rate of suspension in May and June is reportedly twice the company's October 2017 suspension rate. The company has been widely criticized for years over seemingly lax efforts to police bad actors, including abusive users. As the scope of Russian disinformation campaigns were revealed, Twitter, along with Facebook, has faced increased pressure from the public to stop trolls and spam. Now, I already see a problem with talking about the whole Russian disinformation thing, and I think that mostly has to do for the story that we've all been working on, the Mattis file, and the story that Bold really started chasing. For those who don't know, if you haven't been following that story, it has to do with Bernie Krat, John Mattis, was claiming that Russia had hacked Bernie Sanders' campaign, only that took place after the primaries had ended. And then Bold, in his research, we managed to track it down and figure out that this guy was most likely a mole inside the Democratic Party for Hillary Clinton than anything else. So, and a lot of the people that he claimed to be Russian trolls were in fact real people. Huh?
I still can't believe that this guy was a mole. It's too silly. Like this guy trying to undermine Bernie Sanders, even though Bernie Sanders was mostly not likely to win the Democratic Party nomination. He was still these guys really wanted to make sure that Bernie didn't come through.
Absolutely. And this is the other thing is this last sort of sentence on the article. It says the Twitter along with Facebook has faced increased pressure from the public to stop trolls and spam. Now, I question that as well, because first of all, as we've sort of stated on the podcast before, when we're talking about trolls, all trolls are people that are trying to have a good time. Trolls are just people that are, they like to go out and they like to screw with people, get an emotional reaction out of them. So the fact that they're trying to crack down on trolls to me is just a little bit ridiculous. And I also want to know is which public are they talking about when they talk about public pressure? because to me, it doesn't sound like the average Twitter user or the average person that is involved in social media really wants more restrictions on these platforms. But this is probably, when they talk about this, more coming from government that are looking for more regulations on this. They're really the only ones that say that we need more regulations surrounding these platforms. I know, at least here in Canada, it's the government that is pushing for this. Trudeau has stated that he wants to censor Facebook, and he's been getting a bigger handle over that over the last few months, which has been a little bit scary. I actually ended up talking about that on my recent episode of the podcast. So, but this whole thing that they're doing,
he's been according to the news recently, Trudeau's been getting the handle of a lot of things recently. Handling a lot of things.
That's a good one, Arjun. It's true, yeah. But personally, too, is for the most part, is when they talk about certain things such as abusive users, well, I don't really think this is a big deal when we're talking about the average user, because the average user is a big boy or big girl that can handle themselves when they're if somebody comes at them. Usually, when we're talking about abusive users, the problem has to do with kids, usually, when that's like bullies, and that's where the bigger problem comes out of. So I don't really think that this is a big problem. And we just got a new guest with us right now. We're being joined by Mad Dodge Productions. How you doing, Mad?
Let me see if I can. Oh, pretty good. Thanks for having me on. Does my mic sound okay?
Yeah, you're sounding pretty good.
There's
right
a little
now.
echo behind you.
There's always background noise. I can't do much about it, man. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you have an infestation of children. It's because you do. Yeah, no, actually, I kind of, that's the one thing about the Red Eye stream, is I've come to just, it's part of what it is. The children in the background is just part of Mad Dodge's stream now. I'm honestly starting to think it's just a program he runs. It's not actually his kids, but he just runs a program of kids playing in the background. So,
oh yeah, because everybody loves screaming. That's really working for my metrics.
So pretty much what we're talking about right now, Mad, is the fact that over the last 2 months, there have been 70 million accounts that have been suspended on Twitter, and that's an even greater number. I think twice the number of what they did in their October 2017 suspension. And if you remember, even back then, people were talking about how it was a conservative purge, at how they were going after specific accounts. This one seems to be even bigger, so it seems that Twitter is going the same route of Facebook and is just trying to censor everything. Although Twitter, as I was saying just a few minutes ago, is not as bad as Facebook, because Facebook will sell off your information. Twitter might archive it, but at least as far as we know, it's not selling anything off.
Yeah, but the thing is, they missed a few accounts, right?
Well, we're still here for right now. I mean, right now. We'll end up seeing what happens in a bit.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, they didn't get me yet. They haven't gotten a lot of the ANCAPs I follow or any of the people I really follow. So they're missing a few people.
Well, it's not doing any good for Twitter either, because as it stands, actually, maybe this statistic is kind of changing over what's happened with the Cambridge Analytica situation a few months ago. But Facebook still dominates about 80% of the news when it comes to online content, and that's including Twitter, Instagram, even YouTube and other platforms like that. So Twitter really isn't helping itself if it's trying to climb up the food chain in order to combat Facebook and that. Again, this might be changing number right now, because I saw this number before there was the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and ever since then, a lot of people have started to say that they're removing they're getting rid of their Facebook account. So we'll end up seeing. But yeah, they're really not helping themselves at all by doing this.
I don't think anybody's going to not use their Facebook accounts anymore because of the Cambridge Analytica thing. And one thing we always forget is, even if companies don't, like these social networking giants, they don't sell off their data, they're still collecting huge amounts of data, right? And these guys who, for example, Facebook and all, they're all into these artificial intelligence and all these programs. Like, they're using this data for themselves, at least. If they're not selling it out, they're using it themselves. So to say that there is complete data security would be like expecting too much.
Of course not. I mean, Twitter has already proven that if you send a dick pic in a DM, they'll save your dick pic. So, if you put it out there, it's all over the internet. That was actually
No judgment from my side.
Well, isn't this going to be the rise of Gab AI then, and the alternative, platforms? You're going to have the rise of Minds to replace Facebook, Gab AI, the free speech platform, as they build themselves as. We'll see how that, ends up going in the future, though. They might bow to political pressure as well if they ever get an influx of, banned Twitter users.
It's interesting. I'm curious about how things are going to go for Gab AI, because I don't actually venture the platform too much, but whenever I am on there, oh boy, they really do seem like the free speech platform, because you will see everything from N-words getting dropped to everybody. I feel bad for any Jewish people that are on the Gab AI, because that is just a bad place for them on there. I mean, Jesus Christ, some of the things that people say on Gab AI. I prefer, actually, these days, between the two. I don't mind Minds. Minds isn't a bad account, but actually it was Bold that introduced me to Steemit, and it took me a little while to kind of navigate Steemit and get to know it, but now I really enjoy Steemit. That's actually, aside for Twitter, it's the primary social media account I use.
I like BitChute. Every time I upload or do a live stream, it copies it directly, so I have a backup now. And so I have a channel with, last I checked, 1,089 subscribers. That's not much, but if I get booted off YouTube, maybe they'll, part of them will come over to BitChute. I don't know.
Yeah, I started posting to BitChute as a backup as well, because I was starting to worry about a couple things, about whether my account got taken down, losing content. And actually, the one time I truly decided that I was going to start backing everything on BitChute was when I put out, after the Parkland shooting, I wanted to put out an investigative piece on it, but that was also the time when YouTube was flagging anybody that said anything about Parkland. So that was the time I really started making sure that everything I put out was backing on it. And that was the thing I liked too, was the fact that you could set it that no matter what you post on YouTube, it would then be copied over to BitChute. And I've started to notice since I've been on there that excuse me. I've started to notice too that even though my subscriber count's still pretty small over there, I've started to notice more and more views on my videos and other videos too, which makes me believe that a lot more people are making this transition to BitChute. So I really hope that BitChute continues that way, so that way it can it'd be a long run, but hopefully someday they can start putting the pressure on YouTube, because there's just too much crap that's going on YouTube right now. I can't really trust it anymore. Actually, one other guy that I speak to, a lot of his accounts definitely gets flagged by YouTube, and I think my account's a little bit is flagged by YouTube, because I've noticed before when I just start bleeding subscribers, but I don't know why. I haven't put out anything controversial. Sometimes I haven't put out anything at all, and I've lost 4 subscribers in 2 days or something, which is not a huge deal, I guess, but it's you kind of wonder what's happening when that happens, why you just suddenly start removing people. And it's not, I think by now it's pretty obvious that YouTube is deliberately unsubscribing people to channels. There's a lot of people that I've watched that have had that happen. Actually, the main one I think of is, if you guys know him, is Gad Sad. The Gadfather. He's had so many people a lot of times on Twitter that sends a message to him. He's like, hey, I just found out that I was unsubscribed to your channel and I didn't do it. I just resubscribed to it. So YouTube is obviously screwing with people's analytics and screwing with their subscriber account.
Yeah, even on small channels or if they're not unsubscribing you, they don't deliver notifications to people. So people have actually messaged me and said that they don't get my notifications.
Actually, I would say for both you, Mad Dodge, and you, Bold, I've had that problem before, where I'll get maybe a notification, but then I notice it's a video that's been put out a day or two before. And one problem I have had with Mad Dodge's one is that I'll get a notice for the Red Eye being live, at like 9 p.m. my time, and you guys go live at about 6 p.m. my time, so it's like 3 hours after your stream started, yet I don't get a notification till then. It's screwing with everybody.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too. Like, I don't get a lot of notifications for, say, Bold or you guys. I don't get a notification many of the time. Like, I'm not talking about the times where you guys set your streams to private and all that, but like, yeah, I don't get a lot of the notifications. I really have to keep an eye on the channel.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it happens on the Red Eye, I mean, I'm not getting my daily dose of MC screaming his head off, you know? So, like...
Yeah, is that guy from like Queens or something? He has like a Queens accent. Yeah.
I'm not sure actually where MC's from. All I know is he's a very angry man, but he's entertaining. He's very entertaining, though. I will give him that. All right, should we move on to the next story of the day? So, America, China's coming for you. According to this article in the Express.uk, it says China's military reforms to win a war and overtake the U.S. revealed in leaked memo. And China's military reforms have been revealed by leaked internal documents which indicate Beijing intends to expand its military might offshore so that the country will be allowed to, quote, manage a crisis, contain a conflict, win a war, end quote, and overtake the United States in military strength. How do you guys feel about that one? You're going to be second rate next to China, according to them.
Yeah, good luck. But why wouldn't they want to position themselves to defend themselves, really?
Oh my God.
Yeah, they might. Like, ability is in question, right? See, China may have some money, but the fact of the matter is, if world opinion is against you, it is very difficult to do anything that you want, right? People may complain that, oh, world opinion is against US, but not really. Like everybody wants to do business with the US. But the fact is, nobody wants to do business in that sense with China. People do business with China because they have to, not because they want to. So, if world opinion is against you, it's very difficult to do anything that you want, especially with the US, Japan, Australia, and India forming the Quad pact around around China. China will find it very difficult to like expand militarily or even expand its military presence. Every time they try to, like, there'll be like 10 warships on there. It's going to be, if not impossible.
Well, I seem to think too that this whole idea that China, I think it's actually in a little bit of retaliation for everything that's gone on over the last little bit with North Korea. Because one thing that ended up happening was that America tried to maybe it was just a strategy used by the Trump administration, but they pretty much told China to get a handle on North Korea. China really didn't do anything about it. You know, they kind of let North Korea keep testing their nuclear missiles, blah, 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 blah. And then Trump says, okay,
they actively encourage.
Well, even that, yeah, because they didn't put they were saying they were going to put sanctions and stuff on North Korea. They didn't really do anything about that. So then America and Trump steps in, and then now look at the point we're at. We're actually in the middle of a negotiation in order to get their nuclear arms program taken down, which I think was actually an embarrassment for China. I mean, they are right there next to North Korea. They've been there for years, and they haven't done anything. And then what has been, at least recently over the last year, been seen as one of the biggest military threats in the region has suddenly...
The thing about Trump is...
Yeah?
Sorry. Sorry. The thing about China there is, like, both China and Kim Jong-un, both said that Trump is a bigger Kim Jong-un than they are, right? And China is not like a real, see, in that sense, see, the mentality that social justice warriors have, that bag of crazy cats continuously like having a party inside their heads. Think like imagine that kind of mentality in an entire government running the country. Like that's what China is. China is being run by guys who have a bag of crazy cats inside their heads. It's like they're very weird. They do weird things. There is this epic there was this epic video of the former the president for Hu Jintao, Jiang Zemin. Jiang Ze- Jiang Zemin. Jiang Zemin went to Austria, right? He was invited to some posh place, like some big dinner, where they were displaying the piano of either Beethoven or Mozart. I'm behind like thing. He removed the thing and he started playing on that piano. The piano and he played some communist propaganda tunes on that. So those guys are weird and they're crazy, right? Now, imagine that kind of mentality running a country, and especially under pressure when other people are closing in on you and like sort of encroaching on your territory, so to speak. How do you think they're going to react, right? There's that old adage, no, that says like cornered mouse. So basically, China is like a crazy cornered mouse right now. So it's going to hit out in weird ways. But the only safe case is that Trump is like crazier than they are. So Trump is really bulldozing his way through China, North Korea, all these problematic countries. So that's a good sign. And these guys are afraid of Trump actually. China hella afraid of Trump. Even North Korea. Like no matter what the news people say, we are seeing the reactions of like China and like how you should see Xi Jinping's face now. That day that day he like there was this news article where they're saying that China is finding it difficult to fight Trump's trade war. Like China is finding it difficult to fight Trump's trade war. So you must understand like the importance of what's happening. Yeah.
Well, the one thing about that too is the fact that in this article that from the Express, they end up saying that the document gives particular importance to avoiding the Thucydides trap, which is when a rising power becomes in conflict with a more established enemy. So if they're planning to overtake America, they could only really do that with a military engagement. But then they're also saying, well, we don't want to go up against an established power. The really only established power I could see them getting into the established military power they could get into a fight with would be America. So it seems like they're kind of putting themselves into between a rock and a hard spot. It's like they have to engage America in order to overtake them as a military power. But then they're saying we don't want to engage you because we don't want to be taken down by an established enemy. But I just don't see how that's going to be possible for them. And the thing is too is obviously it's like Yep.
See, in that case, the problem is, China shares its borders with 14 different countries, right? And it has got a border dispute with each and every one of them, not to mention the other countries name, via the sea routes and everything. So you can't become an established power by fighting with everybody. Even America did not become an established power by fighting with everybody. It became an established power by dominating economically, right? China doesn't understand that. It's in its mind that I have to fight with everybody to establish my dominance. That is the mindset. You must understand this. It's not very well developed mindset, so to speak. It's a very combative sort of mindset. It's like as if they're bullies on the playground. That's how they visualize themselves. They have this grand opinion of themselves which says that, oh, we will subjugate all these guys and then we will win.
And the thing is too is the whole idea with them expanding their power. It's the idea of expanding socialism as well, because China is still a socialist state, although somehow they haven't managed to fall yet. I mean, we'll end up seeing what the future brings for them, but
because they changed.
They changed, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, they're not really Maoist communism
they changed
anymore.
It to they're not really Maoist. They're more capitalists than the capitalists are.
But then the government just has control over.
The fact of the matter.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Bolt.
The fact of the matter is that China really took off economically once they abandoned Maoism in like the late 70s. So, since then they've really, their communism is only in their form of government, not in their economy. And once they really embraced it under Jiang Zemin, I don't know if Arjun mentioned this already, but I've done like several videos and presentations on how China was basically feeding money to the Clinton administration, and the Clintons were like, in exchange, they weren't doing anything about China stealing our missile technology secrets.
Yeah,
and that's why Pakistan has the nuclear weapon and ICBM program now.
Got the nuclear program before that also. Like they got
Right.
it after China did. But the fact is that China couldn't give them updated ballistic missile technology, right? They would have very short range ballistic missiles, like maybe 2,000, 3,000 kilometers. So anyway, so the fact is that with after Deng Xiaoping, when China opened up, China really took off economically. But see with all the things about China coming up now, like if all the conflicts are coming to a head, right? Like recently with the Maldives crisis going on, like what happened was China was interfering in Maldives. Like they were saying that if India intervenes in Maldives militarily, we take military action against India, right? So what happened was then they decided that we will send. They said Chinese warships into the Indian Ocean, and they sent like 4 or 5 warships, which came through, which was coming through those Indonesian that were states of Malacca and all that. When they reached Maldives, they we're doing a naval Chinese warships turned around and went back. So their military expansion is also like that. Yeah.
Besides, the other thing I wonder too has to do. I mean, the one thing I've heard that's going on recently, at least in the American military, is that now there's a lot of people. Aside for just that, they're starting to have dwindling numbers as people are not as interested to join the military. There are some people that are unhealthy and that they can't join. Usually that has to do with obesity, I believe, that they can't join the military. But the one thing, especially these days, is technology is everything. And as far as I can tell, there is the problem that China has is they don't have the same technology America has. And technology these days is everything. So that's what I also wonder, especially the big thing, especially in modern day warfare, has to do with air superiority. America has the largest air force, and the American Navy is the second largest air force in the world. So they have to overcome this air superiority before they could even think about launching some sort of attack against America if a war ever came to it. So this is actually where I see some of the bigger problems. And if America establishes that space force like they want to, oh, Jesus, it just gets even more dangerous from there. I mean, you don't even need to have sophisticated weapons when you're talking about space, because there's a weapon that I don't think it's actually been put into practice. It's a theoretical weapon right now, but it's called the Rod from God. And all this is it's a piece of hard metal. Usually, I think what I've heard is tungsten.
Tungsten.
Yeah.
Yeah, tungsten. They'll drop it from the sky. It'll fall like a meteor and like destroy the target.
Yeah,
that's quite an effective weapon, like in theory.
Well, the thing is, too, is it requires it doesn't need any explosive. It only requires the kinetic energy, which would happen once you let it go, because it'll keep building up speed. And this thing is supposed to be maybe not quite as powerful, but it has close to the same power as a nuclear bomb these days. Like, I don't know, like probably the biggest nuclear bombs would still be more powerful, but that's how much power this Rod from God has. But it's just if you have a space force, I don't know how China's going to compete with that. Although China has proven in the past that they could shoot down one of their own satellites.
Yeah. See, in the 80s, I think in the late 70s and 80s, the Pentagon had this, no, they called it the Star Wars program. They wanted to have lasers and all that. So basically, Trump's Space Force is like Star Wars program part two.
Now the only
So yeah, yeah, it's quite a.
Now, the only thing
Yeah, go ahead.
about that is that right now there is a. I'm trying to remember what negotiation is or what treaty it was, but there is a treaty that has been signed. America was one of the signers that ended up stating that you can't militarize space, that you're not supposed to be able to put weapons into space. I think this was ended up getting. I think this treaty ended up getting signed soon at the end of the Cold War. But that was one thing I was wondering when Trump announced his Space Force, if it's going to be breaking international treaties because of this. I mean, I don't know if Trump cares, but still, like the idea that he might be breaking international law, because if he starts weaponizing space, then this is definitely a breach of what was signed back in those days. I'll see if I can figure out what it was. But I don't know, like, I don't know if you guys know about that at all, but I'm trying to understand if there's legality to actually put weapons into space. Nobody knows, eh?
Yeah, so I think the technicality is like even if you do put weapons into space, you'll have to put it in orbit, right? So just like the seas, the maritime law I think applies to space also, I guess. So I I guess the technicality lies there that how can you have like weaponized like satellites like sort of going over the so-called territorial space of other countries, right? It's already a problem with spy satellites, right? How are you how can people be allowed to sort of spy over other countries using satellites? So already that's a debate. And if you put weapons in space, then yeah, you can easily have a weapon on top of any country at any given time, and just say, oh no, but the orbit is taking us there. So, so yeah, it's a bit of a technical debate in that sense.
Yeah, I found it here. It's the Outer Space Treaty, formerly known as the Treaty on Principles Governing the Activities of States in the Exploration and Use of Outer Space, including the Moon and other celestial bodies. Damn, that's a long name. It is a treaty that forms the basis of international space law. The treaty was open for signatures in the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union on the 27th of January 1967, and entered into force on the 10th of October 1967. As of April 2018, 107 countries are parties to the treaty, while another 23 have signed the treaty but have not completed ratifications. In addition, the Republic of China, which is currently only recognized by 17 UN member states, ratified the treaty prior to the United Nations General Assembly's vote to transfer China's seat to the People's Republic of China in 1971. The Republic of China, Taiwan, is what it was actually originally they were talking about. But yeah, so that was the one thing I was wondering when we're discussing the whole weapons in space, is the fact that there is an actual treaty in place. But I don't know exactly what Trump's plan is when we're talking about this sort of situation. But either way, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, as we kind of... Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, just when, if we're getting a little bit back to the idea of China going to war with the U.S., I don't think it's actually China would be able to win. Some people seem to believe that they could because of the numbers in their military, because I know China has the largest military numbers in the world. Like, I think there's something like 2 million people in their, like, army or something like that. But again, when you have air superiority, that is a huge advantage in modern day warfare. So that's why I actually think that America still would be able to dominate it. Is, you know, when you can have a plane in the air that could make strafing runs against the enemy and literally kill dozens at a time with each pass, and you have the two largest air forces in the world, you're at a pretty severe disadvantage if you're going up against that military.
Yeah. See, China had a huge problem with its with military population, like recently, where they had to spend tens of billions of dollars just refitting their military equipment because like 20 years back when they bought the military equipment, the average waist size of a Chinese person was 2 inches smaller than what it is today. So they had to spend tens of billions of dollars just refitting their military equipment so that the larger Chinese people of today can fit into those military equipment, into those things. So it has a vast problem with its military, right? China says it's war ready, but it hasn't fought a single war since 1962. They claim a lot of things, but I don't know. China has a lot of wars, like about a lot of problems as far as being war ready is concerned. Like there are doubts because most of their statistics are also probably inflated by the government and all that. So there are a lot of problems which China has, especially with Xi Jinping recently declaring himself as Lord Protector of China for life, basically. So yeah, he declared himself chairman for life, chairman of the Communist Party for life recently, and also the supreme commander of the of the Chinese armed forces. So yeah, there's a bit of that Idi Amin thing going on with Xi Jinping right now.
The Idi Amin thing. Oh, geez, we know how that ended up. I mean, I saw Last King of Scotland. I know it wasn't good.
Oh God, that guy had this. He had this great. He had the most epic like title he had for himself, right? What was his name? I'll just give you the title. Wow, what he called himself. Give me a second. This is epic. Okay, just give me a second.
No problem. We'll give you that second as you need. Yeah, just offhand, I don't think it's really going to go over so well.
His official.
What was that?
His official title was His Excellency the President for Life, Field Marshal Al Haji Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC DSO MC, Lord of all the beasts of earth and fishes of the seas, and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa and in general, in Africa in general and Uganda in particular. That was his official title.
Why doesn't he just say Jesus incarnate as well while he's at it? I mean, what the hell? What kind of a title is that? Somebody is stroking his own dick.
Jesus incarnate because he was a Muslim. So because he was a Muslim, so he couldn't be like whatever. But yeah,
that's ridiculous.
This guy was. There was this. I'll tell you about Chinese corruption, right? Like last year, there were raids on various state level, like those provincial officials, right? Some vice mayor of some province was raided last year, and they discovered $33 billion in cash inside his house.
Wow.
$33 in cash inside his house.
That's ridiculous, Jesus.
So China has some real problems. Not to mention the epidemic that has become a real problem under the moniker of being of an anti-corruption purge. He's purging all his political enemies. He's purging all his political enemies in the name of anti-corruption.
Anti-corruption.
So yeah.
Just reminds me of Antifa. Tactic, right? It just reminds me of Antifa, where it's like, oh, we're against fascism. Meanwhile, we're bringing in fascism. We're anti-corruption. Meanwhile, we're the most corrupt party there is.
See, the Communist Party is so corrupt. For example, Jiang Zemin, we were talking about Jiang Zemin, right? Jiang Zemin had direct control of the military 2 years. 2 years after the new president had come in, he had direct control of the military. So so like that's a problem. So Xi Jinping took exception to that, and now he's purging all of Jiang Zemin's people. He's already like executed 2 or 3 of them. So there is a huge power struggle that is within China right now, and that's why see there was that the standoff on the Doklam Plateau between India and China. Xi Jinping had to back off because at that point would have made, just a couple of months before the Communist Party meeting, like all party meet that they were going to have in October that year. 2 months before that, they had the Doklam, and China had to back off because India said, "Did we lose both?" No?
Oh, Bold had to duck out. I think he has work tomorrow
Oh, okay.
morning, so I think that's why.
Oh, right.
No problem. We're probably
Oh, okay.
I'm probably going to wrap this up soon enough. So, but go ahead, continue for now.
Yeah. So the fact is that they had to back out of the conflict in the end because India was not giving up. So China had to back up because if she had lost face at that point of time, it would have been really bad for his plans for declaring himself chairman of the Communist Party for life, right? Because he intends to take full control of the Communist Party, and losing face to India would have been really bad at that point of time. So there are a lot of problems inside China which are going on right now. If you want, check out this YouTube channel called China Censored. Like their whole job, they by the bench now. That's his job basically. So check out this channel called China Uncensored. Means there is a great description given of Chinese politics in a series of videos. Like you should check it out. So yeah, that's what I said about China. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, will do for sure. I will check that out. And I actually just thought of something right now. I don't know, but I just realized Bold started up this Hangout, so we may actually lose the connection in the next couple minutes. I think he gives you like 5 minutes after the person ducks out anyway. So
Okay.
so we may actually have to end her anyway now because I just realized that if I was in control of it, shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, the fact that he was in control and Bold had to go, I think we might automatically shut down the next few minutes. So did you have any final thoughts on the matter before we took off, Arjun?
Yeah, but see, about China, see, right now Trump is like really bulldozing China. Cheer for Trump right now, because Trump might be actually the only person who might be able to rein China in, because Trump is a bigger China than China itself. So you get the idea, right? Because China understands that Trump is a bigger bully than they are.
He is a bigger bully. I mean, he's pushing him around with everything, including tariffs right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what China tries to do all the time, right? If Kim Jong-un is afraid of Trump, you should realize what Trump is. Imagine Kim Jong-un is afraid of Trump. Guy who kills people just because he feels like it, he is afraid of Trump. Because he knows that Trump, if he doesn't listen to Trump will move him out of existence. He knows this very well. Like birds of a feather. These guys, they understand each other really well. Trump understands Kim Jong-un really well, and Kim Jong-un understands Trump really well. As does China and Trump. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, it's going to make for a very interesting future, no doubt. We're going to end up seeing how this ends up getting played out. But like I stated before, I don't think that it's going to end well for China if they're going to actually try up and go up against America militarily. Right now, it's really not a good idea. Maybe if Obama was in the office, or maybe if another Democrat came into office, it would work out better for them. But right now, I don't think it's going to go well for them. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Arjun. I appreciate that, man.
Okay. All right. See you.
I'll be talking to you soon, and we're going to do you and I we're going to do a stream soon, okay?
Yeah, sure, buddy. Next week, I'll hit you up.
All right, sounds good. Have a great night, sir.
You too. Bye.
Bye. And I want to thank the rest of you for joining us today and for sticking through the whole technical difficulties and everything. I know it was a little difficult at times because I know the group couldn't hear me, and then we had to restart the whole Hangout. I know it was a little bit of a pain at times, but thank you all for hanging in there, and I hope you all have a great evening. I'm Adrian Lloyd. This is Just My Stupid Opinion.